What's up, everyone? We're entering Groups at Home Week 3. If you missed last week or don't remember the story, we talked about Joseph being in Potiphar's house. During his time there, he was tempted day after day by Potiphar's wife. Eventually, Joseph had to make a decision. Was he going to give in, or was he going to withstand it and run? We see that Joseph chose the right thing. He chose to flee from that temptation, and because he did the right thing, he oddly ends up in prison. He got a negative outcome from a good action. This week, we're focusing on Joseph in the prison, in his suffering. Have you ever done a good thing and had a negative outcome follow? What do you do in that situation? What do you do when you find yourself in the prison that you weren't supposed to be in? We learn from Joseph's story to not give in to cynicism and allow our hearts to remain sensitive to the voice of God. During his time there, Joseph would be in some of the worst conditions in the king's prison, but he would also know that God was still with him. C.S. Lewis said, "God whispers at our pleasures, speaks in our conscience, but shouts in our pains. It is his megaphone to rouse a deaf world." I don't know if you've ever been in that place where you find yourself in that prison and it seems easy to give in to cynicism. But I would just challenge you to not go there. Take off the armor to win the battle. Allow yourself to hear from God and feel God's presence. In his time in prison, Joseph was also serving and not selfish. Later on in the story, we see that two men from Pharaoh's house, the cupbearer and the baker, also end up in prison. And they're distressed. They're super confused on what to do while they're there. And Joseph, having been there for a long time, was able to help them, was able to serve them in their time of need. He was able to help interpret their dreams so eventually they could get out of prison. In Joseph's difficult moment, he was able to turn and serve somebody else. He learned to minister to them in a season of darkness. We all go through seasons of darkness. What would it look like for you to turn and minister to somebody else, even though you have something difficult going on as well? Joseph, in his pain, was in this prison helping other people because God had prepared him. God did not waste Joseph's pain, but formed him through it. There's this image of how blacksmiths would make gold and still do it today. That you have to heat up gold to purify it, but that heating process causes the impurifications to rise to the top. And then you just scrape all of them off, and then when you can see your reflection in the gold, that means the gold is purified. We are God's gold, and he uses fire to purify us. It's not an easy process, it's not a painless process, but it's a good process until we reflect his image. This week in Groups, we're going to talk about transformation that happens in difficult seasons. Have you ever been formed in a difficult season that you can look back on and say, you know what, I saw God there? That's what we're going to be talking about in Groups today. There is no pit that is so deep that God is not still deeper.